In life, there will always be people who try to provoke you, challenge you, or test your limits. Some will do it intentionally, others without realizing it, but the result is the same. They want to see you react. They want to see you lose your cool, to raise your voice, to defend yourself. They want to draw you into their drama, into their chaos. But here's the powerful truth. The less you react, the more they suffer. When you refuse to engage in their game, you take away their power. You stop them from controlling your emotions. You refuse to let them dictate how you feel, and that drives them crazy. Why? Because when people can no longer provoke you, they lose their control over you. Think about it. The more you respond, whether with anger, frustration, or even defensiveness, the more you give them exactly what they want. You give them your energy. You give them your time. You let them pull you out of your peace and into their chaos. And every time you react, you're feeding the fire. But the moment you choose to stay calm, stay composed, and remain silent, that's when everything changes. When they try to provoke you and you don't react, you show them that they have no power over you. You're unshaken. You've learned that you don't need to give an explanation or waste your energy on people who are trying to bring you down. You don't owe anyone your reaction. In fact, your silence becomes more powerful than any response you could give. It confuses them. It unsettles them. They're waiting for you to snap, to get defensive, to argue back. But when you refuse to give them that, when you remain composed and focused on your peace, they're left with nothing. The less you react, the more they are forced to face themselves. They begin to realize that their tactics don't work on you anymore. And while you remain calm and collected, they're the ones who start to feel uncomfortable. They'll start questioning themselves. Why didn't you react? Why didn't you fall into their trap? But you know something they don't. Their negativity has no power over you. Their attempt to control your emotions has failed, and that is the greatest punishment for them. The more they push, the more you remain unmoved. They will eventually realize that their words, their actions, have no effect on you, and that's when they start to suffer. In the end, it's not about them, it's about you. It's about protecting your peace, maintaining your composure, and not allowing anyone to steal your joy. By refusing to react, you remain in control. You control your emotions, you control your energy, you control your peace. And when you choose to not engage with negativity, you win. They lose. They're left frustrated, confused, and powerless. And you remain strong, calm, and focused on what truly matters. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember, the less you react, the more they suffer. Their attempts will not shake you. Their negativity will not break you, and your peace, it will remain untouched. Let me ask you this. How many times have you replayed someone's disrespect in your mind, searching for answers, wondering what you could have done differently? It's exhausting, isn't it? That feeling of betrayal, of being undervalued, it lingers, pulling you into a cycle of overthinking and self-doubt. But today, I want you to hear this loud and clear. That disrespect should be your closure. You don't need a heartfelt apology, a long-winded explanation, or a moment of recognition from them to move on. Their actions, the way they treated you, are all the closure you need. Think about it. When someone disrespects you, they're showing you exactly who they are. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their character, and yet so often we stay stuck waiting for something that will never come. A change of heart, a moment of accountability, or even just a shred of remorse. But here's the truth. You don't need any of that. Their disrespect was the moment you needed to wake up to see the situation for what it truly is, and to walk away with your dignity intact. Imagine this. You're holding onto a broken rope, and the more you cling to it, the deeper the cuts in your hands. That's what holding on to disrespect feels like. It hurts, it drains you, and it keeps you tied to someone who doesn't deserve your energy. But when you let go, when you decide that their disrespect is the end of the story, you free yourself. You stop waiting for closure from someone who isn't capable of giving it, and you start creating your own. Here's what I want you to remember. Closure isn't something you get from someone else, it's something you give yourself. It's the moment you say, I deserve better, and I refuse to settle for less. When you embrace this mindset, everything changes. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't listen. You stop defending your worth to those who don't value it. And most importantly, you stop allowing disrespect to take up space in your life. Instead, you channel that energy into growth. You focus on your peace, your happiness, and your future. And let me tell you, there's nothing more powerful than someone who chooses themselves over the chaos others bring. Because here's what happens when you let their disrespect be your closure. You rise, you heal, and you move forward with a strength they'll never understand. While they stay stuck in their patterns, you're out there building a life that reflects your worth, a life filled with respect, love, and fulfillment. So the next time someone disrespects you, don't beg for an explanation. Don't wait for an apology. Take it as a sign, a gift even, that it's time to close that chapter and start a new one. Let their actions be the period at the end of the sentence, not a comma that keeps you lingering in uncertainty. You deserve people who uplift you, who see your value, and who treat you with the respect you give so freely. And if someone can't do that, let them go. Because in the end, their disrespect isn't your burden to carry, it's your reason to move on. And in moving on, you reclaim your power, your peace, and your purpose. So let that disrespect be your closure. Walk away with your head held high, knowing you've chosen yourself. And as you move forward, remember this: you are worthy of so much more than they ever gave. Choose to believe it, choose to live it, and never look back. Let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a never-ending cycle of arguments, explanations, and trying to prove your worth to someone who just doesn't get it? It's draining, isn't it? It feels like shouting into a void, hoping for a response that never comes. But here's the truth. You don't need to go back and forth. You don't need to explain yourself one more time. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is leave silently. Silence. It's not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's strength. It's choosing peace over chaos, dignity over drama, and self-respect over the need for validation. Think about it. When you engage in back-and-forth arguments, what are you really achieving? Most of the time, you're just feeding into their ego, giving them the satisfaction of knowing they've got a hold on you. But when you choose silence, you're sending a message that's louder than any words could ever be. You're not worth my energy anymore. Imagine this: you're in a room full of noise, people shouting over each other, trying to be heard, and then one person gets up and walks out. Suddenly, the room feels different. The absence of their presence speaks louder than the noise they left behind. That's the power of leaving silently. When someone disrespects you, when they undervalue you, or when they take you for granted, the instinct is to fight back, to prove your point, to make them see what they're losing. But here's the thing. They already know. They just don't care enough to change. And that's your cue to stop trying. Leaving silently isn't about ignoring your feelings or pretending the hurt doesn't exist. It's about prioritizing your peace over their chaos. It's about recognizing that some battles aren't worth fighting because the cost is too high. Your energy, your happiness, your self-worth. I know it's hard. Walking away without closure, without that final word, feels incomplete. But silence is its own kind of closure. It's the kind that comes from within, the kind that says, I'm done explaining, I'm done trying, I'm done giving my power away. And here's the beautiful part. When you leave silently, you shift the focus back to yourself. You're no longer caught up in their games, their manipulation, or their drama. You're free to heal, to grow, and to build a life that reflects your worth. Think of silence as a blank canvas. It's the space where you can paint a new picture, write a new story, and create a new chapter, one that's not defined by their negativity but by your strength and resilience. So, to anyone out there stuck in a cycle of back and forth, let this be your reminder. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't need to justify your decision to walk away. Just leave, silently and confidently, knowing that your peace is worth more than their approval. And when you do, you'll realize something incredible. Your silence isn't just an ending, it's a beginning. A beginning of a life where you're no longer weighed down by their toxicity. A life where you can focus on your happiness, your growth, and your dreams. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, don't engage, don't argue, don't explain, just leave. Walk away with your head held high, knowing that your silence speaks volumes, because at the end of the day, the loudest message you can send is this: I value myself too much to stay where I'm not respected. No back and forth, just leave, and watch how your life transforms when you choose peace over everything else. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked away from someone and left them wondering what went wrong? Not because you didn't care, but because they didn't? That's the kind of silence I want to talk about today. The silence that speaks louder than words. The silence that becomes their consequence. Here's the thing about disrespect. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, dismissive comments, broken promises, or the way they made you feel small in moments when you needed support. Other times it's blatant, cutting words, public humiliation, or actions that screamed, "You don't matter." And while you may have tolerated it for a while, hoping they'd change, something inside you eventually snapped. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. You see, they never thought their disrespect would cost them your presence. They assumed you'd stay, that you'd keep forgiving, keep explaining, keep showing up. They underestimated your strength. But then, one day, you chose silence. Not the kind of silence that begs for attention, but the kind that says, I'm done. You stopped arguing, stopped explaining, stopped fighting for a connection that only you seemed to value. And that silence, it hit them harder than any words ever could. Because here's the truth, people don't expect silence. They expect reactions, anger, tears, maybe even an apology for things you didn't do. But when you give them nothing, when you simply walk away, it forces them to sit with their actions. It leaves them alone with the echoes of their own disrespect, with no one else to blame. Think about it like this. Your silence is a mirror. It reflects everything they tried to ignore, their mistakes, their selfishness, their inability to value someone who gave them so much. And that reflection? It's haunting. At first, they might brush it off, telling themselves they don't need you. But over time, your absence becomes undeniable. They start to notice the void, the lack of your support, your kindness, your presence. They realize too late that the person they disrespected was the same person who stood by them when no one else did. But here's the best part. Your silence isn't just their consequence. It's your liberation. By choosing silence, you're choosing peace. You're choosing to protect your energy, to focus on your growth, and to surround yourself with people who truly value you. You're no longer wasting time trying to prove your worth to someone who never saw it. And that's where the transformation happens. When you let go of the need to explain or justify, you create space for healing. You start to rebuild your confidence, your happiness, and your life on your terms. So, to anyone who's been disrespected and feels the urge to fight back, remember this. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. Let your silence be your closure. Let it be the statement that says, I know my worth, and I won't settle for less. Because here's the truth, they never knew disrespecting you would cost them your forever silence. They never imagined that their actions would push away someone so valuable, someone they'll miss more than they ever thought possible. But now, they know. And while they're left with regret, you're moving forward with strength, clarity, and a newfound sense of self. So let your silence be their lesson and your freedom. Walk away with your head held high, knowing that you deserve better. And as you step into this new chapter, remember, your silence isn't just an absence. It's a declaration of your worth. Embrace it, own it, and never look back. There was a time when you were right there, offering everything of value you had. You were gold, reliable, genuine, loving, and worth more than they could ever imagine. But they didn't see it. They took you for granted, walked away, or let you slip through their fingers. Maybe they thought they could do better or that they could find something easier. Maybe they believed there was something else out there that would satisfy them. Whatever the reason, they walked away from gold. Now, look at them. They're chasing dust. They're scrambling for something that doesn't compare to what they had with you. They're pursuing temporary pleasures, shallow distractions, and empty promises, while you, the gold they once rejected, are shining brighter than ever. It's not about revenge. It's not about gloating. It's about understanding your worth. You were never meant to chase after people who couldn't see your value. You were meant for more than that. And now, as you rise and evolve, they're stuck with their choices. They walked away from gold, thinking they could find something better. Now, as they chase after dust, they'll realize that what they had was priceless. And by the time they understand, it will be too late. You know your worth. And as you continue to grow, they'll be left to wonder why they ever let you go.